The new patriotic party is jumping to the defense of the newly appointed Agric Minister Brian Achampong, and instead is demanding the arrest of former President John Dramani Mahama for his do-or-die comments. Brian Achampong is coming under a series of criticisms, including ones coming through from civil society after he made a statement at a political rally in the eastern region indicating purportedly that the NPP is not going to hand over power readily to any opposition political party. Well, after he made those statements, there's been a series of backlash. There's more in this report.
The national organizer of the NDC was the first to take on the Agric minister for his comment. On a Facebook Live video, Mr. Yamin said the only reason Brian Achampong is getting away with his comment is because the leader of the NPP, as well as the president of the country, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has set a bad example.
This country will need to be saved, and will to be saved with equal measure. It may person is sending this signal. Look, we as NDC, me as a national organizer, will not be leading the NDC into the next election only for Brian Achampong and the NPP to just make useless statements like he has made. And this is not the first time. The first person who made that statement, unfortunately, is coming from the President of the Republic. And I wonder why we didn't hear people with conscience speak against the President's statement. You see, that is the hypocrisy you find in this country. That you have men of God, you have civil society, you have whatever, that will not see wisdom in criticizing the president when he makes statements be like that. And you see, the military training that we have is talking about leadership by example. So when the leader is making such statements, unfounded, uncultured statements, then Korano will do same, because it's the leader that is telling them what to do.
The NDC has since issued a statement asking the IGP to arrest the minister for his alleged treasonable comment. Speaking on JoyNews, Deputy General Secretary Mustafa Gbande said the NDC will not entertain any form of intimidation from the NPP.
What officials of government have started doing is just an indication of failure, and they have realized that the only alternative to stay on to power is to breed violence as they have done in the past. But I can assure them that we live in a country that has been very peaceful, a country where there are many people who have lived to see this country develop to this extent. We will not allow hooligans.
Featuring on the probe Sunday, April 9, with Emefa Apawu, MP for Ebuakwa South, Samuel Atachia, said his colleagues' comment have been taken out of context. He wants the public to ignore.
In fact, it's been taken out of context. I was on the stage, actually. There was nothing fiery about it. It was just in context that like you having a good fight, I'll beat you to pulp. If you said that, doesn't mean that you're going to use violence or anything. It's a political language. So I was a bit surprised that people are giving it some violence undertones and all that. He never, exhibited anything which was of violence in character. So I was surprised. He was surprised. But I was there listening to what he said. We will not let you come to power. What does it mean?
That they will never hand over to power.
Of course. That means we'll break the 8.
But founding member of the NPP, Dr. Yaho Tamaklo, will not consider the comment lightly. According to him, he cannot sit down unconcerned in the face of such, quote, destructive political statement by some recalcitrant element in the political class. Without doubt, the statement by Brian Achampong can lead this nation into destruction beyond the extent the Akufo-Addo government has caused, unquote. He noted in a statement he issued. Security analyst Dr. Ishmael Norman has called on the IGP to invite Mr. Brian Achampong for further questioning. According to him, the comment may have security implications regardless of the intent of the speaker. He spoke on Joy FM's Super Morning Show with Mamavi Owusu-Abuaji.
There is a thin line between energizing the political base and weaponizing them. If this kind of talk continues, then Mr. Achampong himself will be considered to be an unethical political leader, because leader would adhere to the rule of law and comply with what voters say. So both of them cannot afford to alienate us, the population or the voters. So for the meantime, I think it's just posturing. However, the security agencies must be super alert.
Featuring on the same show, Executive Director of the Institute for Democratic Governance, Dr. Emmanuel Akwete, called on the President to intervene.
I think the person to speak is the President on this matter, and his ability to dismiss it as not his policy is extremely important, because he took action against Brian Achampong. The committee report, you remember the short commission report on what happened and how they were mobilized and so on.
And of course, that's a wrap of how activities unfolded earlier today. The New Patriotic Party is out with a statement fighting back and is instead asking for the arrest of Johnson Asiedu Nketiah and former President John Dramani Mahama. There you see there a statement from the NPP in response to the National Democratic Congress on some of the claims the party has made. And of course, the party, as part of its surprise that the NDC is coming at against Honorable Brian Achampong, says that it is nerve-wracking to see the very persons who have over time made the worst of unguarded statements and acted in a manner that has the potential to subvert the nation's democratic order and plunge this country into chaos and instability, to turn around and cry foul of a statement that seeks to energize the base of the New Patriotic Party, give assurance of hope to party faithful and the Ghanaian citizenry. Ghanaians are fully awoken to such gimmicks by the National Democratic Congress. The NPP considers the NDC's attack on Brian Achampong not only unwarranted, but also an attention-seeking one with an ill attempt to emotionally blackmail Ghanaians to cut their support from the foregoing. If anybody has to be arrested by the police for treasonable comments, then certainly it is John Dramani Mahama for seeking his continuous do or die for the NDC comment in reference to the 2024 general elections, and Johnson Asiedu Nketiah for his bracing proclamation that members of the NDC are willing to sacrifice their lives to win the 2024 election. I wish to conclude by once again assuring the people of Ghana, of this great nation, that the New Patriotic Party remains a peace-loving party and will not do anything to jeopardize the peace and security of the state. We hold the enviable title as the bastion of democracy in Ghana and on the African continent, and thus we intend to guard this jealously. The 2024 general elections shall be, quote, free, fair, and the most transparent elections in the Fourth Republic, and by the grace of God, the NPP will emerge victorious to continue our transformational agenda. Okay, so let's have a conversation on this. Mustafa Bande is Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, and of course we're fortunate to be joined now by Richard Ahangba. He's the Director of Communications for the New Patriotic Party. I'm grateful, gentlemen, for your time. Let me start off with you, Richard Ahangba, on this, since you issued a statement, of course, in consultation, obviously, with your General Secretary. You say the comment is to energize your base. Is that the explanation to the comment? And kindly unmute for me, sir, so I can hear the point you're making. Hello, Richard. It appears that we're having some challenge there with the audio connection to Mr. Richard Ahangba. We'll definitely get the statement, but let's try one more time. Mr. Ahangba, can you hear me? Okay, we'll just rectify that very quickly and get back to Richard Ahangba. But Mustafa Bande is on, and Mustafa, you've heard, of course, that statement and seen the copies read out to you as to what the NPP thinks about this very statement. What's your initial reaction, given the fact that they believe that the NDC actually set the tone for what's happening now?
unapologetic as they have always been, an attempt to endorse what Brian have said by trying to look for other comments that appears as what Brian have said. But come to think of it, you recall that in the Iowa West Wagon report, Brian Achampon was indicted to have been very instrumental in that violence. You would also recall, subsequently to the general election, the actions that were carried out. And so in all uncertain times, Brian's conduct is condemnable. We are very resolute and hoping that right after the holidays, we expect the IGP to act. If he does not, we will have to come out again to demonstrate to Brian that the NDC is not an institution to be couched into fear.
Yeah, and that's why I was bringing up the point that they're accusing you now in that official statement of double standards. The NPP says you're the first to make the comments. In fact, starting with your 2020 flag bearer, the fact that he said that you're willing to lay down your lives for the 2024 elections, including the national chairperson of the party, a reason for which they have issues with that.
It is only a warped logic to compare a comment such as boot for boot to an individual who is saying that we will show the people that we have the men. We will not stand on any platform to hand over power to the NDC. This is treasonable. This is an attempt to incite his supporters against the NDC violently. In effect, what he's trying to do to this country is to plunge the nation into civil unrest. And this is not coming from an ordinary person. This is coming from a minister of state, a person who has once been at the national security as a deputy minister, saying this kind of thing. We are not scared. We only thought that we are engaging to undertake a very intellectual democratic exercise of election. But if in Brian's logic, supported by his party, they are willing to show us that they have the men, we have taken precaution. The base of the NDC have taken notice of such unguided comments. We are waiting for the IGP to act. If he fails to act, we will. We are not cowards. We are not scared of the system. Nanado, we've had presidents before him. Presidents will come and go, government will leave. And I'm saying that if only the people of Ghana vote for the NDC, Nanado and his people will leave. They will leave the Jubilee House at all costs. We will not break the laws. We will not take the laws into our hands. But we have taken note of these comments. Let the NPP as a party endorse it with whatever they want to do with it. We've taken notice. They have only announced to us. Civil societies have seen. We will not wait for the institution or the Peace Council to come and be jumping around. We have taken caution out of this. We will communicate with our base. We wouldn't wait to be victims. We'll defend ourselves. What is most unfortunate is that in all of these things, Brian will not show up. If it is about bravery, if it's about courage, let us do so. Let him avail himself and see if the NDC has the men or not. But we believe as a party that NDC wouldn't be one that would destroy the democracy of this country. Ghana is a beautiful country. It's a peaceful one. Our kids go to school without security. We all go to our places doing our business without having to worry about any civil unrest. No one, no individuals position in this country should be that calling for violence, calling for the democracy of this country to be destroyed because they are in power and they have access to state machinery. We are counting on the IGP to act. If he does not, then we will take a next action from there.
And in fact,
the NDC certainly will not treat these as one of the usual commentaries by a politician. We take this comment very seriously and would act upon it.
We'll probe that further as to why you're not believing that this is just a one of the several political comments that we've heard, particularly when we're around this time of the year. But let's hear from Richard Ahyangbaso. Mustafa Agbande, just hold on for me briefly. And Richard, you're also pointing out that your party is a peace-loving party. You protect the democracy of the nation. And in one breath as well, you're saying that the comments by Brian Achampong was just to energize your base. How so?
I hope you can hear me now.
Loud and clear. Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. My good brother Mustafa was just speaking a lot of English, really. The NDC doesn't sound convincing at all in this pretense they are mounting. I mean, you know, I don't get it. What are they saying? That what? Honorable Brian Achampong says what? That we have the men? Of course we have the men. What it means is that the NDC somehow thinks that it has a monopoly over violence in this country. So they are walking about threatening fire and brimstone in 2024. If you have someone respond to you that, no, we're not going to sit down and take what you're threatening, but we ourselves can respond, except we have chosen not to be violent. Just to put you on notice that we are prepared. That if you bring what violence you're talking about, we are ready to meet it.
Meet what exactly? Meet what exactly, sir?
They're saying and threatening violence in 2024.
Who's threatening violence, by the way?
The flag bearer of the party.
Really?
General Secretary Asedu Nketia. When you speak those offensive words to the extent of suggesting that you are going to your victory and the NDC's pursuit is to fight for the second independence of this country, that is historically offensive. This country remains independent.
Why so, Richard? Why so, Richard?
Well, this country is independent. What is this thing about they are fighting for the second independence of this country? What does that mean? But let me tell you, if you go to the Cambridge dictionary, it defines do or die, right? As one being in a situation and you want, or you are in a situation and you plan to take a big risk in order to avoid failure. What is the risk the NDC promising do or die? What are they going to do to avoid failure? So that when the former president given the chance to retract, do or die, he says no. And in fact, the very gentle, calm talking former president insisted no, and was poking his finger on the table, saying no, he will not retract, because they are determined and resolved to go on a certain path. And so all Honorable Brian Achampong was saying the other time was to let them know that they don't have monopoly over violence. They don't have monopoly over violence, and that if they want to perpetuate violence in 2024, indeed the NPP has the men to resist it. In fact, we have the men to also threaten what the former president is threatening. But we prefer to go the way of democracy.
Yeah, but we need to be clear. We need to be clear on this, that you're inferring that by what John Dramani Mahama is saying, it means he's amped for violence because he says do or die. In the past, we've heard from your then presidential candidate, now the president of the Republic, make some comments about or die be die. You were in the forefront. You defended that statement, claiming that it wasn't meant to stoke any form of violence. Then on the issue of Asedu Nketiah's statement, your own Kwame Mpini says the country is being recolonized. So if it's about second independence as well, what would you say to someone who says, well, these are the instances for which the NDC would have been making such comments?
Well, I know the context in which the NDC made the comments. Other people's contexts are different.
Really?
Right?
Richard, but I mean...
Hold on. I just defined for you what do or die means. That an individual in pursuit of power says that he will take certain decisions to avoid failure. That's not my decision, right?
Yeah, but I'm asking the question to reiterate the point that is this not... I mean, the usual thing you guys do as politicians, make the comment and
you should tell the NDC. So we don't take any attachment to the statement except to serve notice that what you keep saying and we have not responded. We just want you to know that just so you get too convinced and think that you are the only man in town, other people are in town as well. So the earlier, the better. If you stay away from that kind of utterances, the better it is for our democracy. We don't have problem. We have not accused him of anything. All our leader said was to say that if you are threatening violence, don't be fooled to think that you are the only man in town, that other people, other men are in town too. But what it is we're doing, and if you look at the NPP history from 1992 up until now, every election cycle, when there are disputes, the NPP goes the way of reform. In 1992, when we were cheated big time, the stolen verdict campaign led us to arrive at certain critical reforms that have strengthened our democracy to date. So there's a history and practice to the way we do democracy. We are not the ones to threaten violence. We are not the ones to begin with violence. We are the ones to go the way of democracy. It's the NDC who has the character and penchant for violence, and they are at it again, and we are just letting them know that all the while when you keep saying this thing, we keep quiet, not because we are not men, not because we don't have the men. We have the men, except that we believe in democracy, so we want to do democracy.
Now, Richard, now you're providing context to it. How about scores of your supporters who are out there who may not have had this, of course, explanation before? The fact that it will energize some of them and put some of them in an extreme position to cause mayhem across the country. How about asking Brian Achampong himself to just come out, apologize for whatever form of implications that statement may have had on the followership of the NPP and the cohesion of the country? How about that?
Honorable Brian's statement he made is the effect of the cause that former President Mahama created. He is the cause of that response. And so if you are needing somebody to apologize, then it must begin with the former president. And indeed, he was offered the opportunity to apologize. He refused. So if you are given opportunity for something you have said which is threatening or the future peace of our country, and you refuse to accept it, and other people are responding to what you have said, which is threatening our collective future, then you are the one to be advised. He must go first to apologize, to invalidate what Honorable Brian said. His comment on Saturday was a direct response to the threatening position of the NDC.
So if John Mahama apologizes, you'll give the go-ahead to Brian Achampong to apologize. Is that what you're saying?
In essence, if former President Mahama apologizes, it would completely invalidate what the Honorable Member of Parliament for Abetifi said. It will be of no consequence.
Will Brian apologize for the statement?
Yeah. Yes, what I'm saying is that the former president is the cause, Honorable Brian Achampong is the effect. So if he takes away his cause, the effect will not exist. That's just simply what will happen.
Richard, I'm talking about an apology.
You're not following. I'm saying that.
I am. Of course, you were saying that John Mahama must go ahead. You're saying John Mahama must go ahead and apologize.
What I'm saying is that, Blessed, what I'm saying is that the person who caused it, if he hadn't caused it, and if he's made to apologize, to say that, no, I won't use violence again, everybody's violence or promise of violence or promise of retaliation of his violence will be invalidated. So you begin the call from the source that created this. The effect cannot be your preoccupation. The cause should be your preoccupation. When you treat the cause, the symptoms and the effect will disappear.
You claim that your party is a peace-loving party. For the sake of peace, for the sake of national cohesion, will Brian Achampong apologize?
I'm not sure why you keep asking the same question. The answer simply is the former president has been given opportunity to retract his do or die comment, which is the response that he got from Honorable...
For now, granted, you don't have control over John Mahama now. Who you have control over is your appointee, your member of parliament, who serves on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party. His comment is believed. In fact, IDEC is just out with a statement asking the president to intervene. So I'm asking, since you have control over Brian Achampong, for the sake of peace, to demonstrate that indeed the NPP is peaceful, will you ask Brian Achampong to apologize to the nation?
The former president is responsible, is a statesman, he needed to demonstrate high level of responsibility. If you need anybody to be whipped in line, recognizing the danger of our utterances, then he's a former president.
Okay, but Richard, I'm not sure you're seeking for an apology from John Mahama, for instance, because you go ahead to say that if someone should be arrested, it should be John Mahama, it should be Johnson Asiedu Nketia. That's extreme. You're not seeking to stretch out an olive branch to say, well, let's cease fire. Ghanaians are watching us.
Speaking to my good friend there,
Mustafa, yeah, you're coming short.
No, you had a chance first to have asked him the same question, because they caused this. They started the violence. And I'm saying to you that if you look at our history as a country, those who have been violent and threatening violence all the time since the beginning of 1992 has been the NDC.
Yeah, but if you wanted peace, you wouldn't have been calling for the arrest of John Mahama, is
I'm
it?
just telling you, we didn't say we are going to...
You're saying he instead should be arrested for...
Listen. Don't be measuring in the minors. The issue here is the cause and effect. The cause of the issue that we are discussing now is the former president, the NDC, who started talking about we are going to do or die, boot for boot, and all of that. Whatever those means, we know them to be violent. And we're saying that we are not going to sit and take your violence. We also have the men to counter your violence. So if anybody wants to stop violence, it begins with the NDC. Tell the NDC to stop talking violent, and you will not have violence in this country. So you should be bold enough to make the call on your platform now to the former president. Having been given the opportunity to retract that statement, he refused. He refused. So you should be bold and call on him that indeed, as a statesman, he must set the example of retracting that. And if he retracts that, all the effects, all the symptoms of his statement will disappear.
Yeah, but Brian is simply not willing to apologize. Is that the sense I'm getting from you?
I am not sure what you're trying to say.
Yeah, so John Mahama apologizes, Brian Echampo apologizes.
Listen, you treat causes of things, not the effect. The cause of this conversation is the former president. So you should be bold to say that former president apologized, and one of your colleagues, have been bold enough to ask him, and he refused. And that is why we have to let him know that you don't have monopoly over violence in this country at all. The fact that we are not violent, the fact that we are not threatening violence doesn't mean that we cannot be. The point is that we prefer, and as Democrats, we want to go the way of peace. And that's what our record has been. All along, from 1992, we were cheated. Broad day robbery in 1992, the NDC cheated us. Okay, but then we didn't cause violence in this country. We went the way of reform, and we persisted. And that's the reason today we have the iPad. That's the reason the Electoral Commission is there. That's the reason our election has evolved to where it has evolved to. Our record is clear. Those who have been promising violence are at it again, and we just want to serve notice to them that your violence, we've been quiet all along. It doesn't mean that we don't have the men who can be violent. You are not the only man in town. There are other men in town as well. If you stop the violence talk, there will be no violence in this country. Okay. We just want to serve notice.
Right.
We have not promised to be violent. Brother, so get this. We have not promised to be violent. We have only promised to let the NDC know that if they want to continue on that path, we have the men to respond to them in equal measure.
Okay, then you've asked me to muster the courage and speak to John Mahama. I'll let Mustafa Agbande do that because he's the Deputy General Secretary of the party. But one more question for you, Richard, before I come to Mustafa Agbande. The question about Brian Echampo, it appears as though I'm being fixated, but let me reframe the point here. You are in power. You are giving that trust by this same John Dramani Mahama, who exited office in 2016, peacefully handed over power to Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who won the elections at the time. Nana Addo is almost exiting that 8-year mandate. Is the president willing to hand over power peacefully to whoever it may be the opposition or the governing party, or even the lesser-known political parties that may emerge victorious after the 2024 elections?
In 2016, the NDC was seeking to win a third term in office. Wasn't that the case? Did they just throw in the towel and walked away from that election? They fought the election. They wanted to win. They thought they had won. That is the nature of political party pursuit, where a political party who believes that we have a certain worldview.
Hello, Richard.
Help advance the lot of this country. So we believe, so if we want to continue in power, then we must be willing to win elections. And that's really simply what that was all about, that we are determined to win the election in 2024, for which reason we are confident we'll hand over to ourselves. Now, if you were paying attention to Honorable Brian Champon's statement, his comment developed from when he was talking about the economy, to tell you that this economy, once it regains its stability, once the economy starts growing, once Ghanaians start getting the output that they want, we will not hand over power to the NDC. In the context in which you are speaking, is that when the economy stabilizes and things start going right, Ghanaians will inevitably vote for the NPP, in which case the NPP will win the election. And if the NPP wins the election, why would NPP climb any platform and give power to NDC? The point is straightforward. And I want to tell anybody who is listening to us who would imagine that Brian Champon was talking about subversion and the rest of it, is the same person. If Brian preaches about John 3:16, they will think that he's promising to subvert this country. Those people are just fixed in their mindset. They are political, they are not objective, and they will continue to think about even the gospel as a subversion. What he said was in context. It is consistent with political party belief that we contend for power and we want to win every time. So much is the NDC, they also want to win as much as we want to win.
I see.
So when we win in 2024, in 2025, we will not hand over power to the NDC, but to the MP. That was what he
I get the point. Richard, just stay with us because there's another leg to the conversation about the 2024 elections. You're promising that it will be free and fair. Let's listen to Mustafa Bande as well. And Mustafa, a lot of issues coming through from the NPP. The point is simple.
Just a quick one. Just remember.
Yeah, very brief. You'd have to brief. You'd have to be brief about that so I can bring in Mustafa.
No, I was saying that remember to tell Mustafa to call on the former president to apologize, just like you're trying to do, because
yes, exactly. That's where I'm heading to. So
very well.
yes. So Mustafa, the point about John Mahama apologizing first about his do or die. Comment.
First of all, like I indicated, it is what logic to want to compare do or die to the very unfortunate comments from the Honorable Brian Champon. My party's position is that our only consolation is the institution of the Ghana Police Service, who is a middle institution to enforce public order as against political misconduct. Over the period, the IGP has been in the business of trying to supposedly streamline public misconduct. And if you recall, our Swami youth organizer was recently arrested on such comments. And so we expect that under the principle of the equality of everyone before the law, Honorable Brian Champon should be invited and cautioned. My party's position is that if the IGP fails to do that, we will advise ourselves.
Yeah, you've made that point. So the question about John Mahama apologizing for his statement.
We will not engage in the academic debate of equalization,
right?
But we will practicalize what Brother Champon have said out of caution that we've taken from his comment. We will take caution, would advise our base to be all prepared and not be intimidated. And I can assure Brother Champon that if that is how they want to go, we will not be scared. We are not moved.
Yeah, but I get the point. So the point is we're trying to see if there'll be a way forward. The point about John Mahama equally making a statement in the past. Do you acknowledge that first of all? And will you welcome the statement from Richard Ahiangba that he needs to apologize?
Before I go to that, let me state that there is a by-election that is coming. We are going into that by-election with a belief that we are participating in a democratic process. The slightest of violence from the NPP, if they attack one, we would attack.
No. I mean, Mustafa, I'm not sure we would want to encourage that on on this platform. Let's deal with the issues.
Yes,
Mustafa, I want us to deal. Mustafa, I want us to deal with the issues at hand. The point about, first of all,
the former president will apologize if he has made any comments that undermines
Hello, Mustafa.
the laws of law and for believe that the comments of the former president's offense are.
Mustafa, are you with us? Well, so that's
as a people of the country. Let the police act. Let the police invite him. But
Mustafa, we keep losing you intermittently.
In the meantime,
Mustafa, if you're with us, we lost that point briefly. The point you're making. If you take that for us.
I'm saying that the police service is the only institution mandated to enforce public order. If they find the comments of the former president to be
Mustafa? Okay.
that which undermines our peace. Champion's comments are treasonable. We are saying that his comments have a tendency to undermine the peace of this country, and so he should be invited. And that is very simple. They should desist from the arrogance of equalization. When they are wrong, they should accept that they are wrong. They should not try to macho their way forward by seeking for equalization. The former president apologizing is not here or there. If they don't believe that he said something that offends the laws, let the police invite him. But in the meantime, we are saying that the police should invite Bernard Champion for questioning. If they fail to do that, we'll advise ourselves.
Okay. Do you not take consolation in the fact that the New Patriotic Party is today assuring you, as the opposition, that the next general elections will occur within a free and a fair atmosphere for all? Are you not assured by that? The fact that they would protect, of course,
how do you take assurance from a failing government that has the pageantry of attacking opposition, that has the pageantry of doing everything possible to undermine the democracy of this country? We don't need assurance from them. We can assure them that if Ghanaians vote for the NDC, they will exit power. Let them take that assurance from us, that if they want to bring violence, we are more than ready and prepared. As much as we will not undermine the peace and security of this country, we will take every step to defend and protect our base and protect Ghanaians from the oppression and intimidation from the NPP. Number two, if it is their plan to use government systems, i.e. the police, the national security and the military to intimidate us, they are not more than the civilians, and let them not underestimate the power of civilian resistance. We will get there. But in the meantime, we are waiting for the IGP to act. If he fails to act, we'll take precautions from there.
Are we likely to see a protest if the IGP fails to act?
This is not about engaging in a protest. We will practicalize Bernard Champion's threats. We are prepared to demonstrate to him that he is not in any position to threaten us. He is not in any position as a government appointee to make such reckless comments. We will not take these comments lightly. And we are just waiting on the IGP in the meantime to act. We believe that he will act. If he fails to act, we would advise ourselves on our next step.
You have a number of options available to you as a political party, including writing to the IGP or perhaps the president, who indeed appointed Brian Champon. Are you willing to take advantage of any of these opportunities?
The conduct and posturing of the president is more synonymous to the conduct of Brian Champon. And we are saying that we will not undertake any academic exercise at this point. We are gone past there. We believe that his comments threatens Ghanaians, threatens the peace and the democracy of this country. We can only trust that a constitutional institution of the police should act. If they fail to act, we will advise ourselves from there. We are not scared of them. We will not be intimidated by them. If Brian Champon is so deceived by the traitors in Parliament, let him know that we do not need necessarily members of Parliament to confront political violence. We do not need members of Parliament to win an election. The NDC will win election and they will hand over power whether they like it or not. It is not a question of negotiation. They should only pray that Ghanaians do not vote for the NDC. But if only Ghanaians vote for us, they will exit power. Whether they like it or not, they will exit.
And I hope that you're making this statement mindful of the fact that you've signed an accord with the Peace Council together with the New Patriotic Party to resolve disputes.
The Peace Council so far is a covert political institution.
Mustafa, sorry? Okay. We seem to be losing Mustafa intermittently.
To the NPP. I'm saying that the Peace Council and its members have been running away from this matter since it broke out. It's a covert political institution aligned to the NPP. They are running away. They cannot speak. They are scared of the president. They are scared to advise the president when he's wrong. They are scared to condemn government appointees when they are wrong. The NDC will not wait for the Peace Council to defend itself. We don't need a Peace Council. It is in the good interest of the Peace Council to act in good faith. If they so desire, let them be quiet. But we are saying that let it be on record that we will not take this Brian Achampon's comment likely as the NPP want us to believe. And if the Ghana Police Service fails to act, we will advise ourselves in our next step. And our next step will not be letter writing and will not be in academic exercise. We will take action.
Okay. Why are you not taking part of the blame, though, as a political party? The fact that many say you're part of the problem. You supported...
For the minute, when I heard Brian Achampong speak, I thought he was drunk. We cannot take a blame for a man who would have been intoxicated and making reckless comments. The NDC do not put words in the mouth of Honorable Brian Achampong. He thought through it. He made this statement at a place where the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana was present. So he didn't just speak, he spoke the mind of government. He announced their plans to us, and we have taken notice and caution out of it. We are only praying that the IGP will be seen to be...
I get that point. I was building the point. In terms of you taking the part of the blame. From the perspective of what transpired, just hold on. From the perspective that of what transpired in Parliament, your party had stated its stance, and yet you had the confidence in Brian Achampong, some of your MPs, approved him and gave him the opportunity to serve.
I'm just saying that the position of the party is that a character like Brian Achampong should not be a minister of state in this country. He is a walking danger and a walking package weapon of mass destruction. If allowed close to any power, he would detonate. He would hurt himself and destroy many other innocent Ghanaians. By the grace of God, he's been able to pass through. Nobody have asked him to make such comments. It is in his mind. The Bible says as much as one has in the heart, the mouth confesses. So what he has just told us as a senior member of this government is revealing the plan of government to us, that they will not hand over power and that they will use state machinery to teach us a lesson. On the records, they've done same in Ayawasi West Wagon. Techiman Saf is there, Ejura is there, or Kaikwe someone died. We will not wait for any one of our members to die.
Would you want Brian Achampong to resign if he apologizes today and says he's leaving office? Is that what you want as a political party?
It rests at the doors of the president. But I can assure you that we will take the fight to the doorsteps of Brian Achampong. We will hold him responsible and this government if there is any breakdown of system of this country. Okay. If there is any civil unrest, the president will be held responsible. Brian Achampong will be held responsible because he is an appointee of the president and he seems to be speaking the mind of the president. Until today, the president hasn't seen the agency of the recklessness of his appointees to intervene and to interdict him. He's quiet. The president is on record to have sanctioned most of these operations carried out by these guys. We are only saying that the institution of the police is an independent one. It is the only institution that can guarantee the safety of all Ghanaians and the protection of our democracy. Let the IGP take on Brian Achampong and we will be more than compensated and consoled. Anything less of that, the party will revise its
relationship with the NPP and government going forward.
Okay, gentlemen, let's move to the next phase of the conversation. The point about the 2024 elections, and I'll start off with you, Richard Ahian. But the point about ensuring that the next elections is free, fair, and transparent. You've captured that in your statement as well. Is that connected to what Brian said?
Well, listen, we cannot just move on quickly there just yet.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, briefly.
My brother Mustafa has made some very, very provocative statements, again, causing and needing a response, right? Describing the gentleman as a walking danger, that possibly that he may be drunk, in very unpleasant terms.
Okay, so let's be brief about that, so we can get to that. Yes.
I won't be brief about it. I'll be clear about it, right? You allow him to speak, and when you are asking him very leading questions to suggest that, oh, you passed him and all of that, the NDC must understand once and for all that in this country, the politics of our country, we're committed to developing this country. They cast the first stone of violence. We are responding, and I'm surprised that you in the media have not dispatched this matter. To say that we were here the last time on our platforms, your flag bearer Potential says that they would engage 2024 by way of do or die. What does that mean? Let him explain that to us. What are they going to do by that? And so if people have reason whose interest is threatened by your promise of do or die, and they are saying to you that you are not the only person who can occasion do or die, we also have the men to do that, then you are jumping all around to say that some police should go and arrest somebody. The police will not do such thing, any such thing. They should begin with the cause of the problem.
Are you by the saying that Brian Achampong will resist arrest? Is that what you're suggesting?
The police will not do it. Logically, the police cannot arrest Brian Achampong when he is responding to someone. The person who started must be the one called. What provoked the former president to say do or die? Who asked him to say that? On what basis is he saying that? What has he seen? What is the incentive for him to say 2024 will be do or die? So if he is promising violence, and you, blessed, if you are sitting there, somebody comes to your studio and is poking you in the face, with the last energy you have, you let him know that, look, you are not a walkover like that. What Honorable Brian did is to let the NDC understand that we too were men. The fact that we are not shouting do or die doesn't mean that you can walk over us. But we are letting you know that we understand what you're doing, the psychology you are playing on Ghanaians, that somehow 2024 is going to be battle, it's going to be blood. It's going to be bloody, and therefore you are preparing for the blood. We have men also to fight for that. So if anybody looking and seeing these conversations logically cannot come to a conclusion that there is a cause to the matter, and the cause to the matter is the former president. So if anybody is looking for somebody, and a serious attempt to address the problem must go to the source of the problem. And so that's why I know that the police will not do any such thing. I know you, blessed, sitting over there, you see the picture and it's clear to you. The only thing is that you can't say it because he's a former president.
Okay, well, but the vice president, was also at your event, correct?
When he has
the vice president was also at your event, correct?
Well, I'm saying that when the former president has gone to cast the first stone, and other people are responding to that, you don't come and ask who is throwing the stone.
Okay, I get that. The vice president was at this event, correct? He heads the police council. If you're telling us that the police logically may not arrest Brian Achampong, is that to say perhaps that was the reaction of the vice president when he had these statements being made?
Are you listening to me? I'm saying logically. Logic does not require the vice president.
Yeah, but I'm asking about the feeling of the vice president.
I'm saying to you that you blessed. If somebody comes to poke you in the nose and you respond by poking the person back, would you be blamed for that? Would you be blamed as the one who started it?
Yeah. Beyond that, Richard, I'm interested in the feeling of the vice president. Yes, I'm interested in the feeling of the vice president because the vice president chairs the police council.
This has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the vice president.
He was there, isn't it?
No. You have to stay with the issue. Don't just be mentioning names. You have to stay with the issue. The issue is that the former president has gone to say something, and Honorable Brian Achampong found reason to represent our party and say that, Guy, you are not the only man in town. We also have men in town. So if you keep promising violence, we have the men. We will show you. And if you follow what he says, you see, President, this is my problem with the media, right? He says, if you read it, literal translation from the Akan language. So almost say, almost the patapa, any rehuna, any kwasiasem the 2024 election here. We will show them that we have the men. Now, if you process this statement, what do you see? It's responding to somebody's promise of violence, of patapa, of recklessness, and saying that if that's what you want to operate by, then I have the men. He didn't promise that he will beat you, he will do anything. He's just telling you that he is prepared to face your violence, which you are overtly promising. So if you sit there, you're asking me the same question, I don't understand. So the police, if they're looking for anybody, they should find the former president. Quickly, they should find the chairman of the NDC and ask them that what you have started by talking violence is yielding some fruit. So kill the cause and the effect will be absent. So this issue, it is like the NDC all the time being the hawk, preying on chicken. And the chick one time just stood up and said, look, you know what, hawk? I'm not going to take your prey anymore today. I'm fighting back. And suddenly the hawk is shouting that somebody is threatening it. A chick cannot threaten a hawk. The NPP has always been a peaceful political party. We are committed to that. We'll commit to that till thy kingdom come. Okay. But we just want the NDC to know that whilst they are promising violence, we are letting them know that we too, we have the men, except we prefer peace, except we prefer democracy to prevail. Therefore, we are not going to go the way of violence. But if they insist on showing us do or die in 2024, just so they know, we also have the men.
Okay, Richard, you haven't answered my question about the vice president. He was there, right? He chairs the police council.
Question. It's an immaterial. It has nothing to do with the subject matter.
You don't think so?
The vice president being there has nothing, absolutely nothing. What you are failing to address is the former president whose comment has generated the response. And so therefore...
We've dealt with that. And of course, the event at which this statement was made had the vice president. The vice president chairs the police council. I'm asking if it's not alarmed, this may inflame passions, this may lead to some instability in the country. What was the reaction of the vice president when of course, he made these statements?
Listen, I'm not going to let you drag the vice president into this conversation.
Okay, then I guess it's not fair to drag. I guess it's not fair to drag John Mahama into this as well, is it?
No, he said do or die.
Yeah, the vice president as well was there. The vice president was there. This statement was made before the vice president came through.
Listen, this is pure, simple conversation, and it's logic.
Yeah, same logic, right? You're bringing in the former president.
I'll break it down for you. I'll break it down for you.
Right.
Former President Mahama has gone to say something, do or die, threatening future violence. And what violence he is threatening has created a response. Okay, and that response is that don't be fooled so much to think that you are the only man in town. We also have the men.
Yeah, you've indicated that point. You've indicated that point. I'm asking about what was going through. Yeah, what was going through the minds of the vice president. I mean, knowing that this is a statement.
Has nothing to do. He's a bystander. This conversation.
This is the chair. This is the chair of the Ghana Police Council. You agree?
It has nothing to do with the matter at all.
Not at all.
The former president has been the head of state of this country. And if he is threatening violence against the same state that he led, why are you not asking him expressly to say that you should know better? You have led this country before and you handed it over in peace. Why are you this time threatening to jeopardize the peace of this country? It has nothing to do with the vice president. Completely. Don't drag him into
this. So let's talk about the 2024 elections. Yeah, so let's talk about the 2024 elections.
What is of material essence is the comment that was made. And you are concerned about it. My brother Mustafa is pretending he's outraged about it. And I'm saying that that comment by Honorable Brian Achampong is a direct response to the threatening of violence by the former president who is seeking to run on the NDC's ticket. We just want him to know that the fact that we have been chicks all along and we've been preyed upon by the NDC, the hawks, we just want them to know that we've been taking it for so long, but just so they are fooled to try it one more time, we the chicks, we have the men in town also who can respond in equal measure. So that, don't let them drift away to think that they have monopoly over violence.
Okay, so let's touch on,
if you want to moderate this conversation, the two individuals involved are clear, and the the issues involved here is clear. Somebody said something who is the originator of the thing, and another person responded to it. And if you are judging fairly, the person who needs to be called to attention is the person who started the fight, not the person who's responding.
I'm not judging, Richard. I'm not judging. I'm just stating the facts.
Your questioning is acting as if you are judging.
No, but Richard, I'm asking because I'm asking based on the facts. Yeah, I'm asking based on the facts. You agreed.
The response is not a problem. Okay, the cause is the problem.
Okay.
If you hadn't started a conversation, there will be no need to say we have the men.
Okay, let's round up. Let's round off on the 2024 elections. You're assuring that there will be peaceful, fair and free. What do you mean by that in the statement?
It's just what it means. It will be free and fair as it ought to be, and we don't know any better than to offer Ghanaians a free and fair election. And that's what we have done. And I keep saying this thing from the beginning, that if you look at our history, we are not ones to be violent. Look, anytime we propose any changes to our electoral system and process, the NDC resisted. Why? Because it go against their interests. They rather leave everything to be buga-buga, everything to be just anyhow. We want to streamline things. If anybody in this country says that, look, let's have what is called a national ID card to be the source of identification, the sole source of identification, for example, right? And if you are the person proposing that, I'm not sure how violent you will be if you want an identifiable, a single source identification to make sure that we can monitor and see everybody who's going into a register to be the person they claim they are, so that when the election is out, you have in fact two sources of verifying, so that people who have Ghana card, who have gone to vote, and somehow the vote exceed the number of people who have Ghana card, you have a recourse to balance or cross-check that number. Our quest is to make sure that our election assume high integrity, that our elections peaceful, that our elections engender wide acceptability, so there will be no violence in this country. We are committed to ensuring that Ghana's enviable position as the bastion of democracy in the Sub-Sahara will remain what it is. We are committed to that. Okay. But those who are saying that they will do or die at the polling station and poking their finger on the studio table, that they will do it, we just want them to know that after we have done all to ensure peaceful election, if they want violence, we have the men to respond. Okay. That's as simple as that.
All right, we're ending off. Mustafa Gmandi, brief comments and then we end the conversation.
Let me note that on the occasion where Brian Achampong made his comment, the Vice President was there.
We're having difficulties hearing you, Mustafa. If you could just speak a bit louder for us.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
According to Richard and the NPP's logic, what happened in the Yasu West Wagon is justified. According to Richard and the NPP's logic, what happened in Techiman South, Ejura, Okaikwe is justified. Now, we are saying that we are only waiting for the IGP to restore order. If he fails to do that, we are not intimidated by their comments. We, however, will take precaution and we advise ourselves. Now, going into transparency, and I've heard the Richard saying they will. Now, it is common logic for him to have known that it is not the place of government to give transparent election. It is the sole duty of the Electoral Commission as an institution. Because this government is meddling and interfering into the institution of the Electoral Commission, they have forgotten that transparency and credible election, it is not the place of government, because government is an interested party in the election and cannot be seen to be given transparency, cannot be seen to be given credibility to the election that it is going to take part. Now, what are we talking about? We are talking about a president that appointed political operatives as chairpersons of the Electoral Commission. That itself undermines the integrity of the Electoral Commission than any other thing. But we are saying again that our prayer is that the people of Ghana will continue to uphold confidence in the NDC, will continue to admire our posturing, will continue to admire the good programs and policies that we have, looking at our track record in the past, and vote for us. If they vote for us, if Richard and the NPP so desires, let them make the wife of the president the electoral commissioner. They will be forced to announce the NDC as a winner of the 2024 election. Anything short of that will be resisted.
All right.
Anything short of that, they cannot go scot-free. We will hold them accountable. We will hold them responsible. We will resist from any of the attempts to rig elections.
I'm grateful, Mr. Bagbande, Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, and also to Richard Ahiangba, who's the Director of Communications for the New Patriotic Party. You're watching The Pulse. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. When we